Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a pretty profound technique for dealing with difficult emotions, and it comes straight from the original teachings of the Lord Buddha. It's all about changing how we relate to feelings like anger, moving from a constant fight to a place of real clarity.
So, let's start with something I think we've all been through. You know that feeling when an emotion just takes over? You get angry about something, the thought fades for a split second, but then boom, it's right back, hitting you just as hard. You're just trapped in this relentless, exhausting cycle.
So in this explainer, we're going to lay out a kind of roadmap, one that takes us from that frustrating emotional loop to a state of clear, insightful understanding. We'll look at why that fight feels so unwinnable, a direct technique to step in, what to do if you're still stuck, and really what the whole point of this practice is in the first place.
Okay, so let's dig into that first part. What is actually happening in our minds when we feel like we're in this unwinnable fight with ourselves?
The source material uses this really powerful metaphor for this state. It says the mind is literally consuming or eating the emotion. Think about that. The original spark of anger dies down, but only for a new, identical one to pop right back up in its place. The mind just keeps feeding on that same emotional energy, which is what keeps that whole cycle spinning.
So how in the world do we break out of that? Well, the first step is this really practical, really direct, and honestly kind of startling technique that's designed to just cut right through all that mental noise.
It's called accosting emotion. And the idea is to basically confront the feeling head-on. Not with aggression, not to fight it, but just to directly acknowledge it. It acts like an intervention, creating this little moment of mindfulness that yanks you out of the story you're telling yourself and lets you just observe the feeling itself.
Okay, so here's how it works. You just recite these 5 simple statements. You can do it out loud or just in your head. First, this is emotion. You're just naming it. Second, emotion is arising in the mind. Okay, now you're locating it. Third, the mind is having emotion. Now you see the relationship. And then it gets really interesting. Fourth, emotion is fabricating the mind. And fifth, the mind is being fabricated by emotion. You're acknowledging this powerful two-way street between your thoughts and feelings. That sequence is designed to create just enough space to stop that cycle in its tracks.
But, right, what happens when this technique itself starts to feel a little repetitive? What if just naming the emotion becomes its own kind of annoying loop?
And this is a really crucial point. The source material is super clear about this. If you just keep accosting the emotion over and over again without taking the next step, you can get stuck in a new loop. You're just identifying the feeling without ever really understanding or resolving its grip on you. It's an absolutely essential first step, but it's not the final destination.
And this is where the practice gets really, really deep. It's about taking that little bit of awareness you've created and applying one of the most fundamental frameworks from the Buddhist teachings directly to what you're feeling in that very moment. Now, what's so incredible about this is how it just completely flips the script on your relationship with anger. So first, you see the anger itself as dukkha. It's a form of suffering that's there to be understood, not an enemy you have to defeat. Then second, you identify the real cause, the samudaya. And get this, it's not the anger that's the problem. It's your desperate craving for the anger to go away. Third, you witness nirodha, the end of that suffering, by just watching how both the anger and your craving for it to end just naturally come and go. And fourth, the very act of observing this whole process, that is the path. That's magga.
And the key here is just doing it again and again. The source talks about making this whole process clear or evident. It's about observing the entire cycle, the feeling, the wanting it to stop, and its natural fading so many times that it becomes completely obvious to you. It's through that repeated, clear-eyed look that the real insight starts to click.
And this brings us to what might be the most critical insight of this entire practice. It really highlights a huge mistake I think most of us make when we're dealing with feelings we don't like.
So here's the crucial shift. The teachings tell us, point blank, not to try and extinguish the emotion. Don't fight it, don't suppress it, don't try to destroy it. Why? Because doing that actually stops you from learning anything from it. The goal is not to get rid of your anger. It's to learn to see it clearly, to understand what it is as it is without being owned by it.
Ultimately, the whole point of this practice is to develop this state. It's a Pali phrase that means having knowledge and vision of things as they are, completely purified. It's all about getting to a pure perspective, where you can see reality without all the distortions that our own reactions create.
And that's the real game changer right there. The goal isn't to have some empty mind that never feels anger or sadness again. No way. The mind can still have its storms. True liberation comes from purifying your view, your perspective, so that when those emotions do pop up, you see them for what they are, just temporary, fabricated things, and you're no longer fooled by them.
So that's our explainer for today, and we really want to leave you with this final thought. This practice offers a profound shift from being in a constant war with yourself to becoming a clear and insightful observer of your own inner world. So the question is, what might you discover there?